Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us again today. My name is Yochanan, and I'm co-founder and executive director of Fresh Start. And it's an honor and zchus for us to host this webinar, bringing together Jews from all over the world and all different backgrounds. We hope this webinar series will help us and our families navigate these challenging times in our community and in our world. To learn more about Fresh Start, please visit jewishfreshstart.com. I would also like to thank our anonymous sponsor who has graciously sponsored this webinar series, לעילוי, נשמת, Daniel ben Aster, Rafal ben Leah, Mair, Yehuda ben Yosef, הכהן, and in honor of Tzadok, Eliyahu, and Eli Seligson, two true pillars of the Detroit community. Joining us today, we have Mrs. Gail Hennis, LMSW, Clinical Coordinator and Senior Workshop Facilitator at Fresh Start. We are also joined by Mrs. Tova Korn, Co-Founder and Program Director of Fresh Start. And of course, our very own Sergio Ocampo. Sergio Ocampo is a licensed marriage and family therapist based in Los Angeles, California, and is a board director of the Somatic Experiencing Institute. He works closely alongside Dr. Peter Levine in spreading its healing impact to clients and mental health professionals around the world. He currently serves as an instructor at Antioch University and as the senior somatic consultant for Fresh Start. And without anything else being said, Sergio, please take us into the world of somatic recovery, because God knows we all need it right now.
Well, thank you all. Thank you so much for that beautiful introduction, Yohanan. I'm here to really talk to you about somatic work and about what's going on now in the Gaza war. There's a lot of dysregulation, a lot of trauma, a lot of overwhelm for all of us experiencing what's happening overseas. And for some of you who are there present for that, it's also an overwhelming experience that's captured not only our minds, the interior of ourselves, and our very bodies. My talk today is about somatic work. And what somatic work comes from the word Latin, of course, to work with the body and to work with the emotions in the body. You know, when we feel upset, when we feel sad, when we feel angry, when we feel anxious, don't we feel it in our bodies? Isn't our body messaging to us that we don't feel good, that we're overwhelmed, that we don't feel okay, that this experience is a little bit too much for us, as it is? The focus of my talk will be about children and how to help our children not become traumatized, not to become overwhelmed, and to contain the overwhelm that happens because of the news. You know, as we enter in this phase, we are also as adults being affected. And how we are affected, we affect our children because they rely on us for what? For self-regulation, for a sense of grounding, for a sense of safety. If we are also overwhelmed, they will feel even more overwhelmed because their little nervous systems depend on ours for what? Self-regulation, which is how to calm down. We, in so many ways, implicitly, without us knowing, we allow our children to rest as we rest. But look, if we don't find ourselves well, they will react. Somatic work is really about working with overwhelm in the nervous system and the body. We have our brains, and our brains have thoughts, and we think, hold feelings and emotions. But emotions are not emerging from the brain itself. They're emerging from the body. They are formed and felt in our bodies. In other words, they're embodied. We feel them. You know, we feel the fear. We feel it. We feel the anger when we're angry. Don't our blood pressure go up? Don't we get red in the face? Don't we feel our veins expanding? Don't we feel like we want to do something with that through our bodies? So it's very much an embodied experience to feel overwhelm and trauma. My practice focuses on trauma, focuses on renegotiating the effects of trauma once it has happened, to bring people back to healing and to normality after traumatizing experiences, either in childhood or something that happens to us in our daily life, like what is happening now. My talk is really about how do we allow ourselves to settle? How do we allow ourselves to come down from that so that we don't become overwhelmed and subsequently traumatized? Yeah. Especially for children. Children, in so many ways, they're very vulnerable because their little nervous systems are not regulated. So they can climb really high, get really charged really fast without us even knowing. Affects their sleep, their dreams, their self-assessment, how they see themselves and how they see the world, and can affect the rest of their lives. Because the nervous system for a child is still growing, is still developing. And because it is still developing, anything that happens during childhood becomes encoded in it. It's almost as if you see a little seedling coming from the ground. And as it comes through the ground, if it's injured, and that those very critical moments when it's just a little plant, it will begin to show that in its adulthood, you'll see some branches are not correct. It's a little bit bent. Luckily, human nervous systems are beautiful because they're malleable. Even if there's an injury in childhood, we can work through it. And the nervous system can correct itself and regrow differently without these wounds. So before we begin, what I'd like us is to land more in a very quote-unquote somatic way. What do I mean by landing? Arrive more in your body. Because perhaps as you wake up this morning here in the United States, or you're in your afternoon in Israel, things are happening. Things have been happening all day long, and our minds might be populated with all that stuff of our lives and what's happening out there. So we're going to practice an exercise that you can also practice at your own time with yourself and even your kids. And it moves like this, called orienting. From the word to orient, to scan. And you'll see me doing the exercise. And please follow along with me. Listen to my voice and follow me without having to look at the screen. What I will do now is come out into the space. What do you mean by come out into the space? Come out with your eyes and begin to notice everything that surrounds you. Notice the different colors, the shapes, the textures of everything you might see in your space. You can even count them off, or ask your little kids to count them. You know, I see a picture, I see a light, I see a door, I see a window, I see perhaps the curtains here, the floor, I see the color of the rug there. Count them and allow your eyes to almost become like magnets, bringing in the whole experience through your eyes, like as I am doing. And then as you continue to rotate your head and orient, look around like this, notice how it's a little bit different. You begin to come a little bit more out into yourself. And now notice the weight of your body. Notice how the weight goes through your spine, going down to your head, through the back of your spine. Just notice how it moves slowly downward towards your sacrum. This little area at the bottom of your spine that actually moves around and kind of supports the spine. And below that arrive the hips, your pelvis. Feel your pelvis. And notice how a lot of the weight coming from the top of the body, it's all coming through your pelvis. If you're sitting down, notice your sit bones. Notice how the seat arrives and supports you. Notice how the weight comes from the shoulders into the hips, almost all of it. And your hips have been carrying you for so long. They're so powerful, so strong. They allow you to move, to locomote, to explore the world, and also feel yourself. Notice the large muscles of your legs, how they emerge from your pelvis, and how slowly they move into your knees. Continue to rotate your eyes. Look around. Try not to look too much at the screen. And notice how from the knees come the calves and shins, the bottom part of the legs, and move into your ankles. And maybe wiggle your ankles a little bit. Notice these beautiful joints that have allowed you to walk, to move, to feel the earth, to feel the floor. And feel your feet. Wiggle your toes a little bit. Move them, remembering you have feet. And as they touch into your floor, through your socks, through the echoes of your socks and your shoes, your sandals, or maybe your bare feet, feel the floor. Wherever you are in the building, notice that it has a foundation that the building sits on that touches into the earth. And from the earth emanates gravity that pulls the building down, pulls the foundation down, and you along with it. Feel gravity, feel your weight. Notice your weight. Notice how maybe your shoulders are draping down more, how your arms might be falling more, how the legs are spreading down into the ground more. Feel your weight. And notice the images you see. And lastly, notice the sounds. Through your ear, notice how the sound is arriving. The different sounds you might hear. Maybe my voice, the digitized version of my voice through your laptop, your phone. Or maybe other sounds you hear. Maybe your children. Maybe other humans there with you, maybe sounds outside, birds, cars, the wind, electronic noises around your home. Hear the different sounds. And as you notice the different sounds, just notice the spaces I am doing. Feel your weight. And be curious. Is your seat supporting you? Is that seat actually cupping you away from gravity? Or are you bracing? Do you feel like almost floating away from the chair? Or as if you're about to walk away and almost run away from the chair? Whichever it is, just notice. Feel the weight of your body. And just take a small moment to allow yourself to be here. As you enter the realm of your body, notice the messages your body is sending you in this moment. Really taking your time. We're going to take just a few seconds just to arrive in our bodies before we start. And I do so here with you, as I too arrive in my chair to be more present for the experience with you. You just notice the breath coming in into the body. Notice if it's, as is for me, deeper and more sustained. Slowly out, breath coming out, breath coming in. And slowly the breath of life comes out again. And then we arrive again. Every time we breathe in life. There's more life in my body as oxygen inundates my body and then leaves. And for almost a moment, as I breathe out, I almost die. There's no more oxygen. But miraculously, another breath comes in and I'm alive again. Feel that. Feel your aliveness. Feel your presence here. Okay. Just allow yourself to come into this space more. As I'm going to begin to orient you towards me, as I begin to speak about our topic today, about trauma in children and the overwhelm in our bodies we might be feeling. I like to use this little prop here. It's called Huberman Sphere. It's like a geodesic dome, and it expands like this. It's a play toy, but it's a really mathematical solution to this experience of a ball. And all these little parts that move around. This is what I used to illustrate how the nervous system works for all of us. All systems in the body, your lungs, your heart, your blood pressure, all of it works in rhythms. It works up and down in rhythms. When your heart beats, it pumps blood out, pumps blood in. It just moves around this beating, right? And it has a range, a normal range will it beat. Breathing too. Breath in, breath out, breath in, breath out. Not too much, not all the way up here, and not too little, because there won't be enough breath. So all systems are like this, including your nervous system. That is what? The nervous system in your brain, the nervous system in your spine, the nervous system that regulates the muscles that move your lungs, your heart. They all move in these very wonderful waves of rhythms. They're not super regulated like this, but they kind of wave around this beautiful exercise, this dance that keeps the body alive. And they're all supposed to work in tandem. I have to breathe enough air to power the blood in my heart. And it has to have a proportion to it. What happens in the nervous system? The human nervous system. The nervous system I'm talking about. The nervous system in the body that feels the world, that feels the emotions. When we're angry, we feel it in our chest. When we're scared, we might feel it in our bellies. When we're sad, our heart and our throats become a little bit constricted. You notice it. We know that. From childhood, we know. Look at your children when they get upset. It's a very physical experience. They really erupt. Their whole throats, their bodies are involved. It's very bodily. It's not mental. We humans, as adults, are the same. This nervous system was born to be here somewhere, right? To move like this. But what if something overwhelming happens? If I hear a noise outside, something happens that just startles me, my nervous system will jump up like this. It will suddenly go from here to here. Then my system moves to orient to the threat. What's happening? What's going on? If it were just a car outside backfiring, like a muffler loudly sounding off, I will go, oh, it's just only a muffler. And then my body will calm down again. It will come back automatically. But what happens when we have an overwhelming event that continues, that we can't help, that we were alone in, that was way too much for us? Our nervous system jumps up, goes up here. But guess what? It stays up here. It never comes back down again. This is when an overwhelming experience becomes trauma, when it gets stuck in our bodies. It gets stuck here somewhere, and it doesn't mobilize, it doesn't move out. And henceforth, our nervous system is higher. If I use this gamma of my screen, my system should be here in the middle somewhere, but suddenly I get stuck up here, way up here somewhere. And up here, way up here is where overwhelm is. That's where I lose my witness. That's when I have a panic attack. That's where I'm not here anymore. This is when my body feels constricted and I can't breathe and I can't even mobilize. That's overwhelm stuck in the body. And if it goes on for a long time, we are said to be traumatized. In other words, our system are cycling up here. Why am I saying all this? Why is this important? It's important to understand because when we go through an overwhelming experience, that's exactly what our nervous system does. It gets way up here and it stays there. And if it stays there for too long, it doesn't come back. It doesn't reorient back. For some of us who started this experience through this war, with our nervous systems up here somewhere, what's going to happen? We're going to go even higher than that. We're going to go into real overwhelm. What does that look like? A lot of anxiety, sleeplessness. I can't eat. I have body pains. I'm disoriented all the time. I just don't know myself anymore. I'm very depressed. I'm really sad. I can't stop crying. That's my nervous system being stuck here. And those of us who have experienced trauma before, this only adds to it. It potentiates it. It makes it bigger. If our children have been feeling overwhelmed before this, in other words, they were a little bit more anxious or a little bit more depressed, this makes that, it augments it, it makes it bigger, and you're seeing it more. So it's very important to understand that this is a nervous system in the body, not so much in the mind. Because the mind, in so many ways in my practice, what I've noticed working with trauma, is that the mind is a beautiful thing. It can create, it can plan for the future, it can augment our lives in ways not possible for anything else in this world. We are so intelligent, we can think about the future. But the emotions, we feel them up here. We go like, oh, I'm sad, or I'm just feel overwhelmed. And what is that? If you really notice, it's the information coming from the body telling it, yeah, I don't feel good. I'm scared, says the body. I'm really, really angry. Or I'm really shut down and feel nothing. You don't have to know this, but this is what we call the fight, flight, and freeze system, a very primitive system that allows us to run away from stuff that's really threatening, to actually get angry and push something back that might be attacking us, or to just disconnect and go into freeze, which means I just collapse and feel nothing. I go numb. That's another way the body reacts. I won't go too much into that, but these are the systems that are at work. It's part of what we call the autonomic nervous system, for those of you who are interested. It's the nervous system that controls the heart, controls the breathing, controls your bodily temperature, controls also the rate of your metabolism. And they're unconscious, they're automatic. Just the same way as this system is automatic. Something happens, you react. So I think I said enough about the physiology. So I want to move into more practical ways to work with what we know. So we know that the body is getting, as we call it in my work, dysregulated. It's too much energy, there's too much anxiety, too much fear, too much anger. So what do we do about it? I mean, it's nice to know that this exists, but what's more important is what practical steps can we take to use the work of somatic therapy in order to help someone come down from this high point? How do I help my children do that? I'm going to teach you some self-supportive approaches to support your own body through your hands or through the hands to help the body regulate, come back to a state of more self-regulation, of more calm. And that's our objective. First, and you can follow me as you go along and just notice for yourself how you feel. So we're going to work with the body. And, as you see my body, and let me orient myself, my camera, we're going to start working with the breathing diaphragm. And, the breathing diaphragm is down here. So what we're going to do is we're going to wrap our hands like this around it. You see that? And just place your hands right here where your ribs end and the soft part of your belly begins. And just put them in like this and just hold that area. Yeah, just hold it. And what you can do is you can squeeze a little bit like this. You can almost squeeze yourself. I'm exaggerating, of course, but just squeeze. And what you do is just hold it for a moment and feel that. If this is uncomfortable for you, just do that. Just do one hand or do this. Just be comfortable. Make sure your arms are comfortable and not overflexed. I do this because this is a hug. It's like a nice warm hug. Now feel that. And notice your breathing. You might feel you have shallow breathing, or the breath doesn't really come out, or I can't really take a deep breath, but just notice, just feel that. And what I'd like you to do, as you breathe out, let go of the grip. And as you breathe out, just squeeze gently into your ribs like this. Let the air out. And then when the breath comes again, let go. And let the breath come in. Oh. Notice the self-hug. This is very containing. If you're feeling overwhelmed, just hug this. Hug yourself. You'll notice after a while, you might find deeper and deeper breath. That is, your abdomen falls more. Notice that. And even my abdomen, as I speak to you, it feels more relaxed. So this is an abdominal way of working. So you're working with the breathing diaphragm. This is the diaphragm that it's here and it moves up and down like a bell, like this, letting you breathe out, breathe in. And what we're doing is we're supporting that muscle. And when your touch touches it like this, it softens. So the breathing becomes more easy. And this sends signals to the brain to tell you, I'm calm, I'm calmer. There's one way of working. So this, when you're little kids and something's happening, you can do a family hug, just do a self-hug and slow it down. We're working with children. Of course, we can't talk the way we're talking now to them about all this, nervous system this and nervous system that. They don't understand it. It's really about doing. It's really orienting them to, let's do this. Or you yourself using your own touch with your children. How will we do that? We can do the same thing we're doing with the self-hug to our children by touching them in a certain place. And that will be by placing your hand on their back, right in the middle of the back, where the chest ends and kind of the spine begins to curve a little bit. And then, behind that, the kidneys are, the belly, placing your hand right there. And when you place your hand there, you'll notice their breathing, how the chest is expanding. You're supporting them not only through their breathing diaphragm, which means softening their breath, but also giving them a sense of great support. So, they might be telling you a story like, I don't feel good or something happened. Just gently place your hand there. And you'll notice that they'll soften. And the whole point of this work is to slow the experience down, to slow yourself down and them. Not talk so fast. Just slow it down. Yes, I hear you. I know. That's a lot. And just give them a moment to come down using your hand. If you have little children, you can actually do both. You can touch their chest here where I have my hand right here in the solar plexus. Place your hand there. And also at their back, like a double hold, back and front, or only one hold. You'll also see that they'll calm down a bit more. If they're sitting on your lap, if they're little, or on the sofa. You can do that when you're watching TV. Just put your hand on their bellies or on their chest here. That's very powerful, especially coming from a parent, because they trust you. And as you do that, You yourself try to do the same. You almost touch your own chest to calm yourself as well if you're not calm. Remember, how calm you are is how calm they'll get. If you are not calm, calm yourself, following the steps I'll take with you as well. So all these supports I'm giving you, you can use with your children and with yourself. This way of touching brings this message to the body, yeah, I'm safe. I'm safer. My daddy, my mommy's touching me, I'm safer. I feel more contained. In other words, when you do this yourself, you feel more contained. You feel more yourself. Right? You feel your body. You're not floating away. Because what happens in trauma is my body begins to levitate, to float away. If I'm really overwhelmed, I can't feel my feet. Wiggle your toes as you do this. Feel your legs. Press your heels, that is the bottom of your feet, into the floor and allow your bigger muscles here to feel the force of your body. So almost like pushing down and feeling the muscles in your legs and almost pushing your body up almost. And notice that that's very grounding. And then let go. And then push down again for a moment. Feel the muscles. Feel your diaphragm here. And let go. That's a very powerful combination. You know, coming into the body can be very scary, because we really feel ourselves, what we're feeling inside. But it's very powerful, because when the body becomes aware of itself, when it says, oh my God, I'm really tight here, right? If I'm touching here, you know what the body will do? The body will say, hey, how come I'm so tight down here? I shouldn't be tight. I'm in my living room. I'm sitting down here with my dear wife. I'm here with my kids. There's nothing wrong. And the body will suddenly correct it. It will suddenly regulate. You might notice after doing this a sudden deep breath, a yawning. What does that say? That's the nervous system coming down just a notch. Every time you yawn, the body comes down. Every deep breath you take spontaneously, that is a breath that just comes by itself without you willing it, that means the body is down regulating. So notice those signs as you do this. The next piece, the brain. All this news is coming out. You're on your Facebook, you're on your TikTok, you're on the news online. All this information is coming at you. Your brain is really activated. It's really charged. In other words, it's red hot with activity here. This in itself can be very dysregulating. The body senses that and goes like, my God, there's a huge emergency going on. And it gets dysregulated. It gets roused up. Its energy comes down through this other nervous system I talked about. How can we support that? A way of doing so, and it's very easy, is to support our brains with our touch. Again, your kids and you can do it, or you can do it yourself. Place one hand on your forehead like this. Feel the warmth of your forehead. Go ahead and do it with me, and let's see what happens. This other hand, you're going to put it at the back of your head with your thumb right below that little bump in the back of your head. If you feel with your thumb there's a bump there, make sure this finger is right below that bump, and the rest of your hand on your skull, on your head, like this. Okay. So find a comfortable position, maybe lean back if you're not, and notice this. Notice what happens. I'll take a moment with you. Feel the touch. Feel the correct pressure. And notice your thoughts. You know, your thoughts are not going to go away, but notice how they might slow down. They're slower now. I still have my worries and haven't gone away, but I notice my brain is slower. Your kids can do that with you. And you know, you'd be surprised with children when you do this, the brain slows down really fast for them. It works because they're much more sensitive than you think to touch. We are different. We're a little bit jaded as adults. We have different experiences with touch. However, for children, it's pretty powerful. So notice this. This is very, very regulating to the brain. It calms it down. It softens it and allows you to begin to come into your body more. Wiggle your toes. Feel your feet now. Feel your legs. Notice how much more you can feel them. Ask your kids if they do this to wiggle their toes, to move their legs around. you might notice that they become a little bit more calm. They're not as fast anymore with you. This hold can be very tiring. So we can't hold it for a long time. So what we're going to do is going to shift this, and we're going to go to the next hold. These two go together very well. This one, and then bring your arms down. And what you're going to do is you're going to place them right here, cross them like this, and make sure your hands are touching these bones here. This bone here is your collarbone, your clavicles. Touch those. Okay? And just get comfortable. For women or people who are more flexible, I as a man am not as flexible, you can also do this. But I feel more comfortable doing this. Whatever you choose, just touch the bones. Touch these little long bones here. Now notice. I took a sudden deep breath. This embodies me more. You can ask your kids to do this as well. This will make them come more into their bodies. You'll notice that they'll drop a little bit, and they might take a few deep breaths. This is a cross. So we start here, and then we go here. It only takes a couple minutes, you know. It's not that involved. Now notice yourself. Notice how you're maybe a little bit more here. There. So feel that. And then you bring your head around and look around. You can invite your kids to look around when they're feeling really not okay. Yeah. Again, with little kids, you can actually do that yourself. You can place your hand here. Because the chest is little, your whole hand will, you can actually put your hand on their heads like that and then move it down. And you'll see how what happens is everything in the brain suddenly somehow comes into the body. It's almost like it verts itself. It spills into the body. The brain is too small to hold so much charge, so much activation, so much activity. That's why we lose our minds. We don't know what to do. But when it comes into the body is bigger. It can hold it. It can experience that whole thing coming from the brain. And when you do this, it comes into the body, you calm, your brain calms down. You're more present, and you're able to talk more, say more. Right? If it doesn't work, go back again. Some of us need a lot of work here because we're so used to using our brains, a lot. And that's what we're doing. We're on our phones, looking at this machine all the time. What's engaged? Our brains, our eyes. We're tired. We're almost in a tunnel. We have to come out of the tunnel by orienting, supporting the brain, and coming into the body. Just remember these three. If you only know these three, they can help you tremendously day to day. Excuse me, whether you're at work or at home, or even driving your car at a stop sign or a stoplight, you can do this. Support yourself. Self-support through your hands. Okay. So we've gone through working with the cranium, the brain, working with this area of the body, working with the diaphragm, and orienting. Those are 4 powerful things you can invite you and your children to do. What happens when we're super overwhelmed? What do I mean by that? When our nervous system is really charged, we're really sad, we're really out of sorts, we can't control ourselves, we do the same thing. We do a self-hug like this. Yeah, you put your hand here somewhere and put it here. This is a different hold. Or this same one here, and just squeeze yourself. Squeeze your body. Do it now. One hand here on the chest, one hand here on the side of the arm. Squeeze in. Squeeze. Hug yourself. And maybe move your heels into the ground. Move them, feel the ground. Really press your feet into the ground. Even I take a deep breath spontaneously. I don't know why. But my body calmed down just a little bit more. This is very powerful. Hands here, squeeze in, legs down. This is very powerful. And if you still don't feel that you're coming back from that, we can do tapping. Tapping is very easy. Tapping is just, again, cross your hands here and just tap 20 times on each side, like this. 1, 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, 5, 5, 6, 6, 7, 7. Up to 20. You can even involve your eyes if you can. Your kids will be very playful with this. Have them look forward, then if you tap here, move your eyes to the left, tap here, move your eyes to the right, and do as I'm doing. Just moving your eyes back and forth, 20 times. And then stop. You might notice for kids it happens very fast. They might suddenly come back. They won't be not so upset. Just doing this. Older kids can learn this in no time. They can use it at school anytime. What this does, it really begins to work with the brain and the body. It organizes the brain more. So this tapping back and forth can be used for real emergency situations, anywhere you are. You don't need anybody. You can do it by yourself. Yeah, and you can invite your kids to do this. Right? And that's if it's really, there's a lot happening. But also what's curious about this, you can do this if you have a hard day. You come home and you just need to relax. Just do this for yourself for a moment. You'll notice you'll feel a little bit better. It's amazing how that works. It's really fast. You know, if after this you're still a little bit not here, if you're really not here, you're really overwhelmed, try squeezing. Squeeze the body. Squeeze your arms. Try it with me. Feel the bones. The bones are very close to the surface on the arm. So squeeze and notice the echoes of your bones all along the arm, everywhere. Here the shoulder. You know, squeeze the muscles. This embodies you more. Notice what happens when you do it. Like, you know, you feel more, oh my God, I can feel my body. There it is, my hand. Squeeze in. Let this hand measure your body and let this arm feel what it's like to have a body. Yeah. So you can do this as well. Squeezing, tapping, hugging. That's when we're really somewhere not present. So you can invite in your own way your children to do these. I strongly recommend the self-hug a lot. That really is very powerful. And as well as the tapping. If you can, touch your kids. Let them feel your hand in. You know, little babies react to touch, of course. Why? Why is touch so important? Because that's our first language. When we come into the world, the first language, we don't have voice language. We don't talk. You know, we don't make signs. The only language we know is touch. The touch when we're first born of the person who touches us when we arrive in this world. Touch. We know it. We feel it. And for babies, human touch is very regulating, is very calming. Guess what? That doesn't go away. It remains the same for us for the rest of our lives. Children are closer to it than we are, but we always will respond to touch. So remember how touch is extremely important. At this point, I'll teach you another way, and then we'll probably go to questions and comments and other things. But let me teach you one last thing, and it's called 3 steps down. It's a very simple way for all of us to work through something difficult, and also to teach your kids how to do this. Very simple. First, we'll start by orienting. Just come into yourself again. Hug yourself, just to calm a little bit. You know, we're really activated. Let's do the self-hug, yeah? Let's do the cranial support. Let's do those. Remember, this, and the self-hug, they're very powerful. Don't forget those. So as we come into ourselves, and we're there, you know, orienting and going, okay, I still don't feel good. Locate the emotion, feel the emotion, notice what you're feeling, even name it to yourself or out loud. Ask your kids to name it. What do you feel? I feel afraid, I feel scared, I feel really angry, I feel frustrated, I feel really, really sad. And they're crying or being angry. What do you do? So as they're there, just ask yourself, feel it in your body. Maybe come along with me and let's do it together. Let's do this and orient for a moment. Allow your body to come. Feel your feet. We've been doing a lot of this morning, so we must be pretty much here now at this juncture. Feel whatever emotion you're feeling. Go into your body and just scan. Bring your awareness to what's happening from the head down. Your chest, your heart, your pelvis, your belly, your legs. And notice what emotion you're feeling. Whatever that emotion is. I'm bored, I'm tired, I'm excited, I'm really nervous. I'm angry. I'm frustrated. Feel the emotion. Just feel the emotion. And tell yourself, where do I feel it? And let me ask you that. Where do you feel it? Wherever you feel it, just notice it. Go there and bring all your awareness to that. So if I notice it in my chest, just notice it in your chest. And you might even bring a hand to where you feel it, maybe here or down here in my belly somewhere. And just place a hand if you want. You don't have to. So now you identify the emotion. I say, for example, I feel sad. I'll say, I feel sad. And my hand is here. That's where I feel the sadness. Now just bring your awareness, feel the sadness. Feel the sadness. And feel that part of your body. Notice what happens as you do that. Take a moment. I feel the sadness. If it's too much, if it's a lot, imagine the sensations are spreading from there. Imagine the sadness you feel there, or your anger, whatever it is. Imagine the sensations are spreading everywhere around the body, from the chest, from that place you're holding, all to the surrounding tissues. Imagine that. It will make it easier. You can tell your kids, feel that. Imagine it spreading it everywhere. Kids have great imaginations. Imagine it spreading like light, it's spreading like honey, like an explosion, or gradually, almost like a wave. You can find your own words, the words you use with your children. I used to do this with my kindergartners when I was the school therapist. And we used to just practice this. Imagine just, and they would picture all kinds of things, colors, crayons, imagine paints, just spreading all over the body. Feel it spreading. You'll notice you might take a deep breath. That's your body coming just down a little bit. You just feel what's happening. As the body realizes it's feeling that, it will take steps to make it come down a little bit. You might feel yawning, a little bit more expansion. You feel maybe your body getting warmer. Maybe you're starting to sweat. That's your body beginning to deactivate. That's your body beginning to come down, to bring the nervous system down. That nervous system I was talking about. So this is a process called 3-step down. First, settle by doing, this orienting or self-cog or holding the brain like this. Then notice the emotion you're feeling, whatever the emotion is. It can be anything. And notice it where you feel it in the body. Locate it, localize it, know where it is. Tell your kids, where do you feel it? In your belly? Put your hand there. Yeah. Feel the sadness. And you can be supporting them as well with your own hand behind their back or somewhere where you feel. Follow your intuition. Follow your intuition. This is what your kids need the most, is your hands, your touch. Remember, being children, they're closer to their bodies than you are, because it wasn't too long ago they were always being held. For us as adults, it's been a long time since we're being held like this, extended periods of time. So this is how we can work, quote unquote, somatically with the soma, with the body. As these events take place, that are tragic in nature, overwhelming in nature, what's taking place, that we can support ourselves to become more, quote unquote, regulated, to become more present. The more present we are, yes, the better we feel in our bodies, the more our brains open up, the more our reason comes online, the better decisions we will take, the less impulsive we will be, the better our mental health. If we've suffered trauma before, these steps are very important. Practice them as much as you can. Especially this. I always go to cranial support. Why do I do that? 30 years ago, we didn't live in this media world. We didn't have phones. We didn't have any of that. This stream of information keeps our brains constantly active, charged. It doesn't rest. We walk into sleep with our brains completely activated. No wonder we can't sleep. We are not refreshing ourselves through sleep. So you can do this in bed. You can lay in bed and place some pillows or some cushions on your arms so you don't get tired. And do this for maybe 5-10 minutes. You might even notice you might fall asleep miraculously if you can't sleep, because this is very soothing to the brain. And then you can do this in bed as well. So practice some of these touches, these holds. Of course, I can talk forever about this. This is my work. I specialize in developmental and generational trauma. What's happening now is also stirring up generational trauma, our ancestry. What happened to us as a tribe? What happened to us as a people? What happened in the past is still here. The echoes of that are coming through and also are becoming charged. They're becoming enlivened. They're coming back to life. And they're fueling the fire of what's happening now. Keeping that in mind, that ourselves and our children are also becoming affected by that because it's coming through the generations. I need not name what it is. Of course, we all know what comes from the past related to what's happening now. So I'd like to leave it at that and maybe open up for Yohanan to maybe inquire if there's questions or something else that is being asked of me. So Yohanan, I wonder what you see out there.
Well, I'm going to leave it to Gail and Tova. There is a practical question someone asked. Do you have a diagram of the things that you mentioned? And if not, I'd even put one together and email it out to everybody.
I do. I can always give it to you, Yohanan, and
you'll email it to us, and then we'll take it from there. Okay.
I have
like clues of all the ones we just did, so we could remember them.
Yes.
Either it's pictures or.
Yeah, I do have images that I can share with people so they can go through these.
Okay, that would be very helpful.
We'll email out to everybody. That's fine. Go ahead, Gail.
I'm also wondering, as you come into your body and do some of these exercises that you have so wonderfully shown us, is it normal to experience a lot of emotion when you're doing it, like crying or just,
Yes, what happens is that, as we touch into them, the body's going to attempt to release those.
Yeah.
And, crying is a way that the body actually deactivates charge. And the beauty of this is that as those big emotions come, instead of them being uncontained, they're more contained. Because if you're hugging yourself, if you're supporting your body with your hand, touch is very supportive. So it allows you to feel more easily. So instead of becoming overwhelmed and crying all day long, when we do this, it actually allows the body to gradually release this without becoming overwhelmed. So it's totally natural that when you do this, you might feel more sadness, more anger, or more fear. The trick is to sit there and contain yourself and hold yourself or hold your children. It's like a big wave that comes. Suddenly you feel it. And when you're in the top of that wave, you feel like, oh my God, the wave is always going to be here. It's not slam into me. But gradually the body deactivates, goes down, and then you feel better. So you get to the other side. If you just do it and you just sit there and say, oh God, I'm so sad, you're almost like, driving freestyle. You're jumping off without a parachute off a plane because there's nothing to help you, to contain you. But if there's somebody there with you, or you yourself are helping yourself through these ways we just taught you, then it becomes a gradual wave down. So the body can deactivate and come down. You see what I was naming here? I'm not feeling good. My body's here, my body's here, my body's here. I feel really nervous. And then I bring touch, it contains this. So it doesn't become like that. You see this? But if I'm sitting by myself and really go into it, I might get really overwhelmed. See that? That's the maximum. This is when I lose my witness. This is where I actually have a panic attack, or I even go unconscious because it's too much for me, or I'm just depressed for days and days. So containing it through your hands, through your touch, keeps it like this, okay? Keeps it like that. I hope that answered the question.
yes, thank you.
Yeah.
So we had a question that comes up often here, Doc, in the Q&A. How do we do somatics with children who may have been abused, and touch is sometimes viewed by them as unsafe? Any ideas for how to make some of these touches feel safer?
Well, I hear that question probably from a clinician, talking about working with children, not parents, because parents typically touch their children. Right? Well, from a clinical point of view, working with children is that, of course, we're not going to ever touch anyone without their permission, most especially children. And it's really about, judging how you work with children. If you don't feel comfortable, have them do what we do, self-touch, self-support. Do that and start there. Yeah. It's just as effective for kids to touch on their own bodies as it is for you. Believe it or not, I do a lot of work remotely. And I do, as many of my clients will know, I do a lot of self-support and have folks support. And it's very powerful because it contains the experience. In somatic work, we do touch the human body. We do that. As I worked in person, I would do extensive, work with the body. I work in a branch of my work that I've developed in the last few years called dynamic somatic touch, which is a powerful way of renegotiating trauma through the body. It works very fast and it really helps people come back. But that aside, for children, it's really important not to ever overstep those boundaries, because then it will go from just touch to very unsafe touch. And what will happen is any nervous system will shell up and actually defend itself more, and it'll be worse. So touch with another person that is not our children is really with permission, asking permission.
I also just wanted to emphasize what you said about, teach them, if you can begin, if they're comfortable just practicing it on their own body first, and they're not able to let, a parent even touch them in a comfortable way, in a safe way, yet maybe just beginning with self is really can be a powerful tool for them as well.
Absolutely, Gail. Yeah, self-touch is extremely powerful. That's why I use it so often. I work with high activation, a lot of charge and trauma, and this is what moderates it. It helps it move through. And let's just keep also the context of what's happening. You're being bombarded by this news all the time. It's ever present, most especially if you're in Israel. You open up the news every day, what's happening around the world. Of course, it comes right at you. Really, it's very dysregulating. It's very overwhelming. And to do this for ourselves can actually help us navigate it better.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I hope that answers the question about self-touch and children.
Somebody asked in the chat, how do you do long distance? I think the answer is what you just did, Sergio, is long distance. And most of your work, I imagine, these days, I know with Fresh Start, and I know with all of our clients that you worked with, it's all over Zoom. So somatic can't be done over Zoom.
Because let me say one thing why it works, right? It's about intention. And if we place our beliefs aside about how we know the body works, and, when we intend to do something, it affects our environment. If I intend to be welcoming to you, you will feel it. If I open my door and say, Yohanan, welcome in, welcome to my house, you will feel it because my intention is to welcome you. And at a very unconscious level, your body will feel like, oh, Sergio's welcoming me. I feel more comfortable. That is, Yohanan's body feels more comfortable. My intention, our intention is powerful. It carries across thousands of miles, I've noticed. People can feel our intention. And wherever my attention goes, that's where all the energy goes. That's where all the experience goes. So if I bring my attention to this part of my body, you yourself, everything is going to go there. Your awareness is going to go there. And if your intention is to support, guess what happens? It feels supported. And this is why it works. I don't know how this actually works. What is this thing? I hesitate to use the word energy. The energy does this, does that, because I can't prove it. I kind of use that as a way to explain that, yes, something happens when our awareness goes to something and we want to do something. I want to support myself. I want to help you. I love you. You feel it. Yeah, it's true. My intention is that. So that's very important to know. That's why touch in this way works. It's not about just, oh, I'm just going to place a hand here and just hang out for a while. No, it's about my intention is like, oh, I'm not feeling good. Here you go. Bring the hand of support. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. I know, Sergio, you wanted to work with somebody live, and we do have a participant that's just going to join us live. But on the one of the questions that came in specifically mentioned that all their stress sits powerfully in their shoulders and back. Perhaps there's a quick exercise before we move to the live one that maybe specifically focuses on the back, neck,
Well, there's many ways of working with the back. I mean, usually when people report shoulder or back issues here in the upper back is bracing. Is their bodies, you see my body, if I, kind of the angles of the cameras don't allow that too much, but here my shoulders are square. But when we're, anxious or even aggressive, our shoulders do this just very slightly. You see what I'm doing? They lift up and they kind of brace. They're kind of armoring you. What they're doing is they're trying to protect your neck. This is an old instinct. If there's a threat or something's going to happen, a fight, what have you, the first instinct is to protect your neck because it's so vulnerable. So when we have a lot of charge, a lot of stuff has happening, that's what our body is doing. And we don't even noticing. And imagine these muscles lifting up your shoulders 24 hours a day, or most of the day, you get sore. The muscles get so sore from overuse, and they begin to tense up. And that's why you have these patterns. Several ways of working with this. One of the ones that I use the most, but you have to use this just very, very on the surface, don't get too much into it, is to just start like this. Just start like this. And then just slightly, very, very slowly lift your shoulders up like this. Hike them, move them up. Just do it with me. Just very, very slowly. See how slow I'm going? You can see my hands moving up. Slowly, slowly move them up. Notice what begins to happen. You might take a sudden deep breath or something else happen. Maybe your eyes flicker. Maybe you want to yawn. And then lift them up and then slowly just feel it and let go. Just move your neck like this a little bit, just a little bit. And you might notice after a little bit, it loosens just a little bit. And you might feel the emotions coming through. Feel the emotions. Do the same as before. You feel an emotion, just put your hand there and let it come through. You might cry, you might feel sad, you might get angry. You might get really frustrated. Just let it go through. Feel your feet. Just let it go through the body. That's one way of working with it. Just slowly up, come down again. But the trick is slow. Don't do this. This doesn't do anything. The movement is so slow, you're almost imagining. It feels like you're imagining lifting your shoulders. Yeah. All right. The other one is kind of easy. When we have these imbalances, it's just, this is your trapezoid muscle, deltoid to your trapezoid going up here. So just with two fingers like this, push in and feel how much pressure it takes to push them in. Then the other way, and go this way. And just sense which one is more tense, this one or this one. Just, usually there's an imbalance there. So whichever is more tense, go there, place your fingers there, and just put pressure down for about 30 seconds to 60 seconds. Just pressure down. And here I take a deep breath because this is a little bit more tense for me. It happens that fast for me. You just press down, maybe count 30. Yeah, move on. A little bit more time, a little bit more time. And then just let go. Let go. And just notice, maybe straighten out again. And if you go back in a moment to test, again, you might notice it's a bit softer. So that softens the trapezoids. That's working, remembering, when we're working with the top of the body, we're working with armoring. We're working with this. We're like armoring up. That's an old way of saying it from the early 20th century. Armoring means you're bracing. You're like, doing this. Okay. So hope that answers that question about the shoulders.
We have a question here in the chat. Will these techniques help a child who is very fearful to walk around the house alone? Once they calm down, will they be able to walk around without me going with them?
Yeah, I mean, that's a gradual, working with fear is gradual. It's like, moving into the fear and coming out and coming in. So you can go through this exercise and maybe start walking with a child. Let's go walk over to, I don't know, the kitchen. I don't know how your house is. And then at one point stop and let them, look, okay, you can go a little bit far. Why are you going to the kitchen by yourself, honey? Just go to the kitchen and have them come back again. And have them feel what it's like to have done it. Or go into the next room. And if they feel still not good, let's do this again. And then we'll try it again. How about you now go into the kitchen by yourself? You walk with them for a little part of it, and then you walk the rest of the way. So it's almost like you're moving with them little by little, letting them actually become less fearful part by part by part, little piece at a time. Now, don't go and walk by yourself. I'll deal with you now. And then they feel like, God, that was scary. Come back and do this. But if it wasn't, for a little kid, it's a triumph, like, oh, I could do it. So when we work into fear, we always work very gradually into the fear. We never go into this exposure way of doing it, of really encountering the fear. Guess what? When you encounter the fear, it becomes more fear, and it can even move into terror. So just gradually work with them. Just gradually move into the fear, whatever the fear is. Sleeping alone at night, whatever it is, just gradually be with them. I'll sit with you as you go to sleep for a little bit, and I'll go away, and then I come back again. I'll go to the bathroom and come back, see how you are. Something like that. That's with fear. If we say, no, you got to face your fear, that's a nightmare for children. That's just a nightmare. It doesn't work. I think that's what, there's many ways of working with fear, but that would be one way I would, at the top of my head, do that.
What if they're super, super resistant to touch, and I want to talk about these exercises with them, but even starting to tell them, let's do this, let's do that, let's do that, they also resist. What are the first tiny baby steps to bring a child into this world? If I'm going to say that this could help you calm down, they're like, don't even talk to me about my emotions, because they're so shut down. What are the teeniest first little steps to bring them into this world?
Yeah. And you mean that even self-touch wouldn't work for them? Is that what you're saying? Because
they're resistant to the whole concept of I don't need you to help me with my emotions. I'm okay, but you could see the child isn't okay. They're hiding. They don't want to express their pain, but you could tell as a parent that they need it.
Yeah. You can move into many first. In this way, it's really touch is not accessible. So you have to work with with the brain. You have to work with the reason. And the first step is to say, okay, so I'm not feeling anything, or I feel all this, whatever it is. You just ask them, what is it like for you now? What is it like to feel this? What is it like not to want to talk about it? What is it like not to even want to see me here? What's it like to have even me here? As I begin to touch into that, because this is a defense. It's very defended, because there's so much happening here, and it's a big pushback coming from them, and this is pushback because they don't want it. They're overwhelmed. And when you see my hands, what they're doing, pushing you back, that's energetically what it's doing. It's like, don't even come close to me. Don't even touch me. Right? But it's more, what's it like for you then to be here? Be like, that's okay. We're not going to talk about it. We're not going to go into any of this. But just, what is it like for you to not feel okay? How safe is it for you? And that's the beginning of it. See, that's tricky, because we're their parents. And with the parents, there's always going to be something like, I don't like you, I don't want you to do this. And, children tend to blame their parents for stuff, or they tend to find them, intrusive, especially their teenagers. So really, we're going to have to begin to work on the surface, and even say, this is what I do. Yeah. And sometimes you'd be surprised, they might do it on their own. That's very powerful stuff. That's how I would approach that. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so we got a little bit of time left. I want to work with, I'd like to bring on Yossi, who's agreed to sort of work with you live for a few minutes, just to see, so people can really experience you working one-on-one with an individual. Then we might have a few more questions. Yossi, are you there? I promoted you to a panelist.
Yeah, but to turn their camera on.
He's going to be rejoining. There he is.
Yes.
Okay. Hold on here. Hold on. Yossi, you got your video on?
Now I do.
Now you do. Okay, we're going to add spotlight. Okay. Yossi, say hello to Sergio. Sergio, say hello to Yossi.
Hi, Yossi. How are you? How you doing?
Good to see you. Thank God.
Good to see you. So I hear you want to work a little bit, Yossi. I wonder what's going on.
Yochanan, people are saying they don't see him.
They should be able to see him.
I see him now.
I don't know if everybody else is. I got another text before somebody else was.
He's now spotlighted. He should be able to, we see him.
Oh, okay.
Somebody
I see.
notified him, we see him. Okay,
Yeah,
Yep.
I see you.
okay.
Hi, Yossi. So, I noticed you are here because you want to have something happen. I'm wondering what's going on now for you.
Okay, there's a lot going on. So I've been taking care of a lot of things, and that's not stopping enough to do what I know I should be doing.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just keep it as a generic term. It's for self-care.
Yeah.
And I feel like I would benefit addressing some trapped energies inside of me, or
Okay.
I think
Trapped energy inside of me. So maybe we can become curious of that trapped energy. And we're going to do, as we began this webinar, by allowing your eyes to come out with me. Just come out into the space and allow your head to rotate. Notice how the neck can rotate and move your chin around and be a slave to your eyes as your eyes are curious. Just notice what you notice around you, the colors, the forms, the shapes, all the objects you see. And imagining again, your eyes are almost like magnets, bringing in the whole experience of your surroundings. At the same time, just notice the weight of your body coming through your spine. Again, noticing how it arrives on your sacrum and begins to move into your pelvis. Feel your sit bones, feel that chair, how it supports your pelvis, how it cups you away from the floor, and how the larger muscles of your legs arrive away from the hips into your knees. And they move down in your calves and shins into your ankles and feet. Now feel your feet, Yossi, and may wiggle your toes and move your ankles. Feel the floor. And notice through the echoes of your socks, your shoes, the floor. And that's your ground. Remember, this home you are in, this building, there, notice that breath. Just guys, notice that breath. Notice the floor and notice the weight through the floor. Gravity coming through and pushing your body down. Notice the sound of my voice. Maybe coming through your ears and all the other sounds you hear around you. Okay? Take a moment. And as you do that, Yossi, notice the messages your body is sending you in this moment. What I mean by that, the sensations you might be feeling below your neck. And let me know what they are.
there are many. So I feel heaviness. I feel my needs very profoundly. I just feel them being their presence there.
Mm-hmm.
I do feel heaviness in my calves.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to feel a weight in my shoulders over here.
Mm-hmm. So feel the weight in your shoulders. Just notice the weight coming down. And as you notice the weight coming down through the shoulders, notice what happens here in the chest and the belly. Begin to notice what's happening there. If there are any sensations, or you feel any emotions. And really take your time, just being curious, that's all.
I'm actually feeling like a lot of fog and dizziness in my head rather than my head.
So let's do this. Put your hand here on your forehead and coming down the back of the head, with your hands behind your head. Notice the position. And just notice what happens as you support your brain. Feel the weight coming through your spine as your head comes between. Imagine your head is floating above and you're supporting it, almost holding it up with your hands. Feel the experience. Notice the thoughts. And notice how the thoughts at some point are slowing down, not going away, just slowing down. Take your time. And please let me know as your arms become tired.
So the strange thing is that my arms are not getting tired, but my feet are getting really tired.
Yeah. So feel the tiredness in your feet. Feel the weight coming there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So feel the weight. Feel your spine. And how if you wiggle your toes, the rest of the body can connect with your legs. Yeah. There you go. There. Notice that breath. How you doing? There's another breath. There you go. Now notice how the nervous system might be ticking down just a little bit.
Yeah, very much. I feel like it's got a really tired feeling. Like
Good. So now bring your arms down like this and cross them here. Cross your clavicles here, now here, on top. Here. On your collarbone, exactly, just like that. Notice what happens. Feel the tiredness, feel the heaviness. Now this is to allow the brain to come into the body now. It's almost like it empties into the body. There, notice that breath. There you go. Feel that breath. Now that's the spontaneous breath I was talking about. Now as the nervous system ticks down. That's right. That's right. Now it's the messaging from the body. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, feel whatever this is. Just feel it come through. It's okay. It's okay to feel what you feel. How you doing, Yosef?
okay, great.
Yeah. When you say great, what messages is your body sending you now telling you feel that way?
The body just feels very relaxed now.
Good. So bring a hand here where the heart is, about, and one here in the belly. So this supports not only the abdomen where fear lives, but also here where a lot of the emotions live. Yeah, so this is very powerful. So feel that, just touch into it. Yeah, that's right. Just explore how the skin moves around here. Press in and just find a place where it feels good. Like tighten the skin or loosen it and just find a place. Imagine the hands are floating and just find a place. Like, see what I'm doing? Top of my skin. And just, okay, that feels good to me. Right there. There. And
Actually,
just find a place.
Painful.
Where is it Where is it painful?
Right below the sternum.
Yeah, it's right. That's your breathing diaphragm. So just hold it there. Yeah. So this is, that's what happens when the body's trying to reorganize. Some things get tense, but then they loosen. So just place your hand there and just allow it to move around there. And just find a place where it feels comfortable. Tighten the skin, like what I'm doing, and just find a place where it's tight and just sit there. Breathing diaphragm here is what helps us breathe. So there you go. Yeah, there. Just take a moment. Take a moment. Allow your head to rotate like this for a moment. Yeah. Yeah, do this. See this kind of mechanical way, what I'm doing now? What this does, it gets you a little bit out of numbness and brings you back more, right? See? It's kind of like this dumb scanning. You're not looking at anything, but looking at everything. Yeah. There you go. Just like that. There. So you notice when the calm came, something happened. It's the body reacting. It's the body trying to loosen the patterns. The breathing diaphragm always gets very tight when we're anxious. And sometimes when it loosens in these kind of vibrations like that, and sometimes it tightens up, it loosens. So it's the way muscles work. There. How you doing?
Good. Thank God. Everything seems uniform, more or less.
Calmer?
Definitely.
Yeah. Do you see how long was it? 5 minutes? Suddenly the nervous system calms down through self-touch. How powerful it is. Now, children go even faster. Their nervous system moves very, very fast. So just allow yourself again to look at the space, Yossi, and notice how it looks. Does it look sharp and clear and just the way things should be? Or is it bubbly or blurry or gloomy or far away or dreamy? Just notice how the light's arriving out through your eyes. The objects, the things you see there.
No, it seems really crisp and clear, actually, like a high definition picture.
Exactly. So, audience, that's how you know there's self-regulation in the nervous system. When everything is sharp and clear, it means my nervous system is completely online and regulated. If it looks blurry or distant or narrow, we're activated, we're charged. The visual cortex is highly connected to this nervous system. Now, the way the vision works through the eyes. So remember that. As you begin to feel clearer vision, you know you're better. You're sitting at a stoplight and suddenly you feel clearer. Oh, I'm coming back. I can drive. Yossi, thank you so much for lending us your nervous system so that in some way we can talk about what this is like, somatic work. And somatic work is about working with nervous system in the body that's connected mysteriously with this big thing here through the neck. They're one and the same thing. We're one and the same thing. So why don't we work on the other one, not only on this one? So this is my message. Thank you, Yossi, so much for help.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sergio, I like the way you said that. Thank you for lending us your nervous system.
Thank you.
Yeah. Beautiful. So we're going to wind down here. There was one question that came in. Gail responded, but I'm thinking, Sergio, if you could just add a little more color to it. If someone is in talk therapy, how and when do they know if somatic is a fit? I mean, Fresh Start, we are big fans of top-down, bottom-up approach. Both can work together, but I figured I'd ask you the question since you're the one doing all the hard work here and see what your thoughts are on answering that question.
My tendency as a somatic person is always, even at the very beginning of therapy. I'm a psychotherapist also working with the mind and the body. If you find a practitioner only does somatic work, it's good to begin to work with them as well. Because as the brain is a meaning-making part of the body. It doesn't really hold emotions. Believe it or not, emotions are really formed in the body. They're embodied, but we feel them through our brains because we think of them. Imagine if you have no body. How will you know what sadness feels like? How will you know what anxiety and fear feels like? Because you feel them in your body. It's impossible. Talk therapy is really good at finding meaning in what happened to me. How did it happen? How did I become the way I am? What events shaped me? How they changed the way I look at the world? How I experience the world through my mind? But as far as the emotions, talk therapy, in the end, if we have overwhelming emotions, cannot regulate them. They will still be here. I've often worked with people that have been in therapy for sometimes decades. They're very well-contained folks. They're very well-contained in their experience daily. They know who they are and what they are. There are no mysteries. However, the fire within is still there. The anxiety is still there. The fear is still there. The depression is still there. The sadness is still there. They just found better ways of handling it, of working with it. If these go unchecked in your body for too long, as you age, the patterns become more forceful, stronger, and more powerful. In other words, you become sadder, you'll become more anxious, and your world will limit. And that's the thing with trauma. It limits your world. Overwhelm limits your world. Instead of saying, I can't, the words will be, is I can't. I can't go out every day. I can't go traveling. I can't learn that. Oh, that's impossible for me. Those are the words of what? Of overwhelm. A nervous system that's open and available. It's always open to all experiences, one experience after the other, strung together by a little string called time over time. To answer the question, I think somatic work, anytime you feel overwhelmed or you have trauma and you know you do and you feel it, you have big reactions, big emotions, even from childhood to now, somatic work is, in my opinion, in my experience, the only thing that brings people back to wholeness, to health, and to wellness. I would strongly suggest we do this. At the age of the beginning of psychotherapy through Freud, there's also tremendous interest in the body. But this model took over for many different reasons. They're historical in nature. There was Reich, who also was a contemporary of Freud that worked a lot with emotions and trauma in the body. His work was a little bit more primitive, but it was the beginning of it. But now we've advanced tremendously in the knowledge of the psychophysiology and the physiophysiology of how the body works with trauma, how it works with activation. So to answer your question, I'm very biased, only because I see the results of folks that I've worked with, how they return from years often of depression, years of anxiety, and not through my great work, but the brilliance of the work and the brilliance of really touching into the instinctual way the body always has deactivated. There are no traumatized animals in the wild. It is because they know how to deactivate things the moment they happen. Humans have lost that capacity because of the big brain. I can talk an hour about why, but just trust that that's what happens. And we need somebody to help us do that again. Like what you saw Yossi do. His body just somehow de-escalated because I was there. Not by magic, just the presence. When you were your children, your presence, you being there can help them powerfully and coming down from charge. So I hope that answers that question.
Yeah, and somebody just with the final question, then I'll ask Gail to just share a few final words what somebody wrote here so we can incorporate this into our talking psychotherapy sessions and use these exercises within the sessions. I'm assuming the answer is absolutely yes, Sergio, correct?
Yes, I teach a certificate program at Antioch University on trauma a couple times a year, and we do exactly this. Most of them are therapists or healers or yoga instructors, people that work. So if you're interested in learning more about my work, you can go to Antioch University, Los Angeles, and there's more information on my certificate program. Or alternatively, you can reach out directly to me. My URL is sergioocampo.com, and you can find information there. I haven't updated in a while, but I will very shortly.
And Sergio, one other point, if there was one book on the topic people should read, we do have someone here that I know there's a lot of books. If there's one book, what would it be?
I would say In an Unspoken Voice by Peter Levine.
Okay.
In an Unspoken Voice by Peter Levine. He relates his own, experience with trauma. As you know, I assist Peter Levine regularly, and I just did a generational trauma retreat in England with him. And, we continue to expand the work. And what I'm talking about is really the fundamentals of it. Somatic work is very deep. It takes people very deeply. It takes to very deep healing. And eventually at arriving at a sense of happiness, really, a sense of yourself, of who you were, the moment you arrived in your mother's womb. Because when you came into this world, you were meant to do something, be someone. And whatever happened to us took that away from us. And this work is a way of returning to yourself, whoever you are. Not about turning you into something different, but you just more you. Before I end, but I also want to say one more thing about Fresh Start. That, I just want to, props up to you, Yohanan, and the whole team at Fresh Start for the wonderful work you've done in the community in Detroit and around the United States to bring awareness of trauma, ways of working with trauma, and also bringing me on to be a part of that. And been so honored to be working with this community. And I think Fresh Start is really at the leading edge of this work, and they continue to innovate. They continue to bring new stuff in. Yohanan is working tirelessly to expand the program. So my kudos go out to you, Yohanan, and the team that you guys are doing, godly, just heavenly work. Thank you so much for having me also be a part of you and your work.
Thank you, Sergio, for those kind words for all of us. Gail, any final thoughts before we wrap up what was a very powerful session?
Very powerful. And just want to thank you for this incredible experiential presentation, where both personally and professionally, like once again, I gained so much from you. And I'm hoping that all of our listeners and watchers did as well. Your expertise, your compassion, your open heart and love, and your wisdom is forever appreciated. We are so grateful you could partner with us and look forward to doing more together.
Thank you so much, Gail. From your lips to my heart, thank you so much.
Thank you, Sergio. I want to thank everybody for joining us. Everybody, this is going to be live. A video of this will be on our YouTube channel. You can also find us on Spotify at Jewish Fresh Start. Thank you, everybody, for attending. Thank you, Sergio. Thank you, Yossi, for lending us your nervous system.
Dr. Sergio was amazing. Thank you so much. Really,
Right.
every word was beautiful and touched
And
us.
we will do this again. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Take care.
Thank you, everyone. Take care of yourself. Be well.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.